Okay, so I want to show you something. This is a process I've been developing here for the last couple months for making bleached t-shirts that look pretty good. Each one is different and unique, and right now Bethany, who's running the camera right now, and I have been working on these for a podcast that we produce. It's called Here Be Monsters. It's about fear and the unknown. And we've been making these t-shirts because, as opposed to like a traditional silk screen or a digital transferred shirt, we want something that was varied and unique and just a little bit different than the traditional shirt making method. So what we have here is, we have a couple of these that we've been working on earlier here today, and I want to show you the exact process that we're going through so that you can generate the same kind of shirts with your own pattern on them for your own use, because they look pretty good. This is one that we made earlier. These are just drying, letting the bleach soak in all the way. But this is kind of what you can expect results that are different for each one, but still look quite sharp and quite precise. These are just some of the ones that we have done earlier today. Yeah, that's our logo. So I want to show you the full process here. You don't need very much. You don't need anything like really expensive or specialized. You just need a couple of tools and a trip to the hardware store or two. The kind of shirts we're using right now, these are Gildan 50/50 poly cotton blends, and that's important because you want shirts that aren't 100% cotton, otherwise the bleach will eventually dissolve through and eat all of the fabric away. The 50/50 cotton poly blend, the bleach can react with the cotton and it won't react with the polyester, thus leaving the structural integrity intact. You can see here earlier Bethany went through and put a little tiny red sticker so we can register the shirts and make sure that we know exactly where we want the top of the stencil to hit. Another thing you'll need is to steal a sign from your old employer. This is a really good one. It's a metal sign. It's the exact right size. My employer was remodeling, and so I took this sign and I wrapped a little bit of tape around the edge so it's easier to slide into the shirt. So what you do is you take this. This is a large shirt. These just run maybe, God, what were these dents? These like $1 or $2 each.
Yeah, something like that.
They're cheap and they're good shirts too. I really like these. So I slide this in here. I've got this up here at the top, and this is to prevent the bleach when we put it on from soaking through to the back and bleaching the back of the shirt as well. This is a very important part of this, and a mistake that I was making a lot in my earlier attempts at doing this. Okay, let's go over to the bleaching station, Dents. Okay. Another really important thing is that you get the temperature of your space right. And so it's January right now. It's January in Seattle, so it doesn't really count. So it's not real winter, but this little space heater that we have in here to make sure that the temperature is up in the space so that the bleach can react properly. Bleach reacts quicker at higher temperatures, and when you do this in a space that's like 40 degrees per se, your bleach is going to react very slowly and not as completely. Okay. So a couple other things I have over here. This is a press that I made, specially for this purpose. It's 2 pieces of wood with a window cut in the front, and here's our bleach stencil that's using an overhead sheet. And these things are great because they're durable, they're cheap, and you can cut them with an X-Acto knife. Yeah, that looks good. And so you have a hole cut in here and then taped up really good on the back side through this window. This is really important so the bleach doesn't seep through. Another thing that you might not notice here is that the front of this is all being coated with a polyurethane varnish, and that's optional, but it will make the press more durable because it will make the bleach roll off of it instead of soak into the wood. And that's great. You can use polyurethane varnish, or you can use like a cheap lacquer that you would find in a spray can. Either one works fine. Taped up here so that the bleach, when it rolls off of the stencil, doesn't go underneath the stencil, which is another problem we were having earlier. Got a couple clamps here. You'll see what these are for. I got these for $1 at the hardware store. Another thing that's important to have, especially if you're doing this by yourself, is a bucket of cold water, so you can wash your hands in between parts that are bleach sensitive and parts that are not bleach sensitive. And you'll see what I mean in just a moment. Also, a bunch of rags are really important. Last 2 things that you need as far as equipment goes is you need some sort of spray adhesive, and it's important not to buy the extra strength spray adhesive because you want a very weak adhesion, and you'll see why in just a minute. And also a spray bottle. You can use any spray bottle, but normal ones that you would recycle from like just like a general purpose cleaner or Simple Green or whatnot aren't going to be very strong, and so they'll actually degrade into the bleach potentially. And so you can get these chemically resistant spray bottles, and they're kind of expensive. but they're probably worth the investment if you're making a lot of these shirts, which we are right now. Okay, so I've got the bleach, I've got the spray adhesive, and I've got the shirt in the sign, or the sign in the shirt, and the next step is just laying it down here and getting it centered on the press. So, right now my hands do not have bleach on them. Oh, something else you really need is you need clothes that you don't care about, which is what I'm wearing right now. Alright, so this is probably the hardest step actually, is getting this thing lined up just perfectly. That's why the red dot is so important, because with the overhead sheet, you can see exactly where the red dot is. And you can guess and check. Alright, so here's this. Alright, great. And the next step, spray just a tiny bit of spray adhesive on here. This is important. I was always using too much at first. That's plenty. And then I'm going to fold this up so that I have room for this. What you can see here is these are what are called carriage bolts. You can get these at any hardware store. They're great, and it's what I also have using to hold the hinge on here, which is just a nylon strap. And so we've got that. I'm going to fold the sleeves in, and we're going to try this. Alright, it's just about right, but I want a little bit higher on here. Denz, if you could come up here on top and just show how the dot lines up, how we've been doing this. I have a spot that I know where I want the dot to line up on. Great, that's perfect, right up there in between the H and the B. And what I'm going to do down here is I'm going to fit these carriage bolts into these pre-made holes. There we go. They snap in. I've got 2 clamps. Put them on the side. This goes a lot faster with 2 people, but you can do it with 1. Okay, here's the first step that's kind of difficult, is you got to get this stuck on here just right. So you got to go around. It's okay if you get a little bit of bleach on here because it's going to be bleached in a minute anyway. This is obviously going to vary per your design, but for me the problem areas right here are the legs of the M, these little spikes on the bottom, and then this spot right in here on the bottom of the H. Alright, there we got this. I'm going to put it up. Now, some people use diluted bleach for this process, but I'm using full strength bleach because I want it to be a very bright effect. If you want less brightness, you'll water it down just a little bit. But I'm using full strength bleach and just a little tiny bit of it too. I do 1 spray, 2 sprays. Oh my god. You try not to break the spray bottle again. I've been doing this all day. And the bleach will start reacting immediately.
See it already reacting.
Yeah. And I'm going to take this back down again and wipe off the excess bleach. Wipe it off of the stencil. This is important because when you lift it up, the bleach might run off and get into your dry zone. And so that's something that's really important, is that you have very specific places that the bleach will never touch, which is you never want on the inside of the press. Otherwise you'll wind up with some weird stains on your shirts. Right now I'm going to dunk, because I'm doing this by myself, I'm going to dunk my hands in the water, get any excess bleach off. Got some rags over here. There's some of the failed shirts over here that I'm drying my hands with. And take off the clamps. This is where it's nice to have a partner, is at this stage, because what you have to do is you have to very carefully peel the shirt off. So I'm going to run my hand back here. Just very carefully pull this off, and you can pull it off immediately. The bleach will not spread once it's on there, as long as you're very careful at this stage. And there we go. Okay. And then the only other thing you need at this point is you need a sheet of paper or a sheet of cardboard that you can slip in here to act as the sign, essentially, but while the shirt is drying. So I've got this right under the wet spot here. And then you just lift it up. So obviously you can go faster than this if you're not explaining everything. Maybe I'll do one more here at more like a full speed. Beth, you down to keep taping this?
Of course.
Okay, let's grab another one. We're going to get the sign here. We can just do this a little bit faster. Alright. You creeping back there?
I'm showing the varied designs.
Oh yeah, that's great.
This one looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, hey Beth, how long do you think it's been taken for them to get to their full potency? Would you say on the drying rack? They'll continue the process for what, like 20 minutes?
20-ish minutes.
Yeah. We've been having pretty good luck with them drying here. Uh-oh. Yeah. And so they'll continue to get brighter and brighter and brighter until they hit cold water. And you definitely want to wash these in cold water because, again, the bleach will react at higher temperatures. So the colder the water, the better when you wash, to keep from bleeding. That being said, once it goes through the wash, there's no potential that it's going to bleed out onto your other clothes. Because as soon as the bleach crystals are gone, they're gone. And you have a permanent design that won't ever fade, which is great. Okay, so I'm going to do this one a little bit quicker. You'll line this up here at the top. I'm going to try and get this, eyeball this as good as possible, but usually you do have to readjust it once or twice. And great. Got that. Easy on the adhesive. That's the crucial part. Great. Of course, this is not an exact science. Now I'm going to get these lined up in here. Also non-exact science, there we go. Clamps. And a rag. Important to get this right on here, so that's why you want to use the adhesive, just to get it as flush as you can so it doesn't bleed at all. And there we go. Up. 2 squirts from about a foot away. If you do too little, your bleach won't take, and if you do too much, it will start to seep in the fabric. It will start to bleed around the edges just by what's that called? Capillary action? Is that what that is? It'll start to diffuse and make your design less sharp, which is another reason for using full strength bleach, so you don't have to use as much liquid. All right. Oh, another really important thing is use chlorine bleach. Don't use non-chlorine bleach. I don't think that actually has any effect on the color of clothing, at least not from my experiments. All right. And again, you don't have to let this sit in here. You can take it out right away. But important to, if you're doing this by yourself, to rinse your hands off between each one in case you got any bleach on there. Dry them off real good. All right. You're gonna lift this up carefully. And this one looks very different from the last one. Oh, you can see I did have a little wrinkle in the fabric there, but sometimes these things look kind of neat. The variants are what make this process worth it, I think, because as Beth can attest to, this is a pain in the ass.
Sure is.
It takes forever, but
a pain of love.
Labor of love. These are our babies, Beth. Our little podcast shirt babies.
Each one a unique snowflake.
Yeah, I think they look like galaxies. Each one a unique galaxy.
I think they kind of look like fireworks.
Yeah.
Like sparklers.
If you think this process is neat, you should check out our podcast. It's called Here Be Monsters. It's about fear and the unknown. The episode that we put out today, January 6th, 2015, is about a the trip to the psychics that went a little bit awry. Yeah, our podcast is at hbmpodcast.com. This has been a little quick tutorial on how to make a little bleach t-shirt. Oh, before we let the good people go, Dan, so let's take a look at that one that we just did. See how it's developed. Do you remember where I put that?
No.
Okay. I'm going to go hang this one up over here. If you have any questions about this process, I'm more than happy to answer these. Questions, anything you might have questions about on this process. I've wrecked a lot of t-shirts trying to figure out how to do this, and so willing to try and help you out in this process too. Just write them in the comments, and I'll try to address them here. All right, I think that's the whole thing. Thanks, Dens.